Cyprus is a newly established state, having been proclaimed independent not long ago in 1960. This, however, did not put an end to the problems and tragic events faced by its people. Cyprus took part in the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games under the Republic's own flag for the very first time. Since then, Cyprus has participated in the Olympic Games and in other international sporting events with its own athletes and sports teams, gaining important distinctions. Even in the past, Cypriot athletes had excelled. Many of them competed under the Greek flag, producing winning performances for many years in Cyprus, Greece, and the international sports arena. In 1896, in Athens, the first distinction was achieved during the first modern Olympic Games. Ioannis Frangoudis was the winner in the pistol shooting event. In 1936, Domnitsa Lanitou was the first Cypriot woman who competed in Olympic Games under the Greek flag in Berlin. In 1946, Stelios Kyriakidis triumphed in the Boston Marathon. Stavros Georgis won many international honors and awards and also excelled in the Olympic Games. In the 1972 Games, he finished 6th in the final of the 400-meter hurdles. All these achievements did not happen purely by chance. The small state of Cyprus has an exceptionally long tradition in sports, one as long as its history, which dates back more than 10,000 years. Cypriots were farmers, hunters, and fishermen in prehistoric times. A available means and tools were primitive. Psychophysical skills were therefore required for the people's survival. The great discovery of copper provided new possibilities, especially from 2000 BC onwards. Cyprus had its own army and fleet, both of which required intensive training and constant exercise in order to safeguard trading and protect the island's natural wealth. Consequently, various sports developed. Sports such as running, archery, javelin, shooting, riding, the chariot race, and rowing. During classical and later times, the various autonomous Cypriot cities had their own sports facilities. The Curium Stadium was constructed in the 2nd century AD. It was 229 meters long and 24 meters wide, with 3 entrances, 7 tiers of seats, and a capacity of up to 6,000 spectators. Races and pentathlon events were held here, including various jumps, wrestling, and the discus and javelin events. The Palestra was also an important area, even as a sanctuary, since sports events were organized to honor gods. The gymnasium was the main physical and spiritual training ground for the youth. It was an enticing place decorated with wealthy ornaments aimed at attracting young people. The baths served as an integral part of the whole structure, with compartments for cold and hot baths in addition to suctories. An exceptionally important and honourable position in all the cities was that of the gymnasiarch. He was the officer in charge of the smooth functioning of the sports facilities and also of the supervision of the youth in terms of their physical and spiritual education. A similar post was the one of the overseer of the youth, who was in charge of children's education. Since the late 4th century BC, Cypriot athletes participated in the major sporting events which used to take place in Greece: the Olympian, Isthmic, Nemean, and Panathenaic Games. From inscriptions, we know the names of some of these Cypriot athletes who participated in the Games. Heraclides and Onesikratos from Salamis are among them. Both were winners in the Stadion, the 192-metre race, in 2 Olympiads, the 144th in 204 BC and the 150th in 180 BC. The most notable Cypriot athlete was Dimitrios Salaminios, who lived during the 3rd century AD and won the Stadion race in a total of 3 Olympiads. He was also a 2 times pentathlon winner. He won in the Isthmic, Nemean and Panathinaik Games, and also in games which used to take place in Italy, Ephesus, Antakya, Tarsus and elsewhere. We know from depictions on mosaic floors dating back to the Roman period that armed combat games and the hunting of wild animals also took place. The Cypriot hunters used to travel as far as Africa. During the long Byzantine period and even later, the Cypriots lost their direct attachment to sports. During the Frankish domination from 1192 until 1489, sporting games were a privilege for only the noble class, to which the local population did not belong. During the long Ottoman domination from 1570 to 1878, the Cypriots' sole struggle was with their land for purposes of survival. During the British domination, which lasted from 1878 to 1960, sports once again became a component of everyday life. Gymnastic and athletic clubs were founded in all cities around the island, and sports grounds were constructed. During this period, sport in Cyprus developed, despite the unfavourable conditions and difficulties encountered. After the establishment of the Republic of Cyprus in 1960, particular importance was given by the new independent state to the field of sports. Remarkable progress was accomplished with improved infrastructure and organisation. Numerous successes were achieved both on an individual and on a team level. Yet the 1974 tragedy with a coup and Turkish invasion seriously affected sports, just as it did all sectors of the Cypriots' life. The Turkish military invasion spread devastation and disaster, bringing about the enforced division of Cyprus. Since then, 37% of the island remains an occupied territory. Grounds and sports facilities were lost. The GS Evagoras ground in Famagusta, the GS Praxandros ground in Kyrenia, the grounds in Lysi, Morphu, and many others. Since then, many of the above remain empty and deserted. After the tragic events of 1974, reconstruction resulted in an impressive outcome. The Cyprus Sports Organization, the highest sport authority in Cyprus, has, since then, promoted the sporting ideal and spirit in collaboration with various institutions, particularly the Cyprus Olympic Committee and the island's national federations. Emphasis is placed on high-return sports and the social aspect of sports, especially programs such as Sports for All. Furthermore, creating the appropriate modern infrastructure is both a priority and a prerequisite. Nowadays, despite the tragedy and the huge problems experienced, more and more Cypriot athletes and clubs are successful in many international events. Their enormous effort, their competitive spirit, and their perseverance are all inspired and enhanced by their country's past. A sports history spanning many centuries.